Hello everyone, this is Shishir and you are watching Gate Academy Global, a channel in which we are generally concerning about the English language learners. And this is the second lecture of MOSTalk, and already we have seen yesterday the first lecture of MOSTalk, and in that we have discussed that what is our intention to design a MOSFET. Because we are constructing a MOSFET, but if you don't know why we are designing or constructing a MOSFET, then we cannot find the actual result by using the MOSFET. So first thing that we have found in the previous lecture is nothing but why we are designing a MOSFET, and we come to the conclusion that we are designing a MOSFET to construct an amplifier. And what is an amplifier? Which gives strength to the weak signal. This is the amplifier. And for designing an amplifier, the basic component that we need is nothing but the voltage dependent current source. So we have designed the voltage dependent current source, and for that one we need a layering method. Layer means one above the other, and we have seen that we are having the lowermost layer which is known as the semiconductor, and just above that one we are having, this is the dielectric which is known as silicon dioxide, and just above this one we are having the metal. So over and all, this is a metal oxide semiconductor. So this is the layering process by which we got this one. But in GATE we have removed the fabrication process totally in the new syllabus. That's why we are not going to concern about the fabrication process of this MOSFET, but we are more concerned about the structure and the operation of the MOSFET. If you know these two things, that is what is the structure of MOSFET and how the MOSFET is actually operating, then definitely you can excel this MOSFET totally. So I will tell you these two things in today's lecture with two more MSQ. In the previous session, I told you that there must be an electric field that is responsible for the name of this metal oxide semiconductor. I have analyzed what is the meaning of field effect transistor, and we found that the field effect transistor is nothing but a phenomena by which we are applying a vertical electric field which is responsible to increase the conductivity of the semiconductor at the surface of the semiconductor. And if you analyze that one, then we come to know that we have to apply an electric field, and that electric field can be applied in this metal oxide semiconductor by connecting a voltage source from this metal terminal, and this voltage source can be connected in this way, like this. We can apply positive or negative voltage, anything here, but I will give you why we are connecting only positive voltage, because the results that we want from this particular metal oxide semiconductor, what result we want? We want the result that this will behave as a dependent current source, and the current source must depends upon the voltage. So for that one, I have applied a positive voltage. I will give you the complete analysis. Don't worry right now. What is the reason to apply a positive voltage? But what is the response of positive voltage? First we are going to see, and later we are going to analyze why we are applying the positive voltage. The response of this gate terminal voltage, we have already seen that it will give a positive results on the metal side because of the application of positive voltage, because I already told you this is acting as a capacitor, and in capacitor this particular silicon dioxide will not allow the charge carriers to move through it. So this positive voltage and the supplier of the electrons, the voltage source, is nothing but the supplier of electrons, and this will definitely supply the electrons. Then the electrons will get accumulated at the top surface of this semiconductor body. And of course we are taken this is a p-type semiconductor. That means the conductivity at the surface of the semiconductor has been enhanced. The conductivity at the surface of the semiconductor has been enhanced. That's why many times this particular metal oxide semiconductor may also be called as this is an enhancement mode semiconductor or metal oxide semiconductor. So I can write here that the conductivity, we just write here the conductivity of surface of semiconductor has been enhanced by the application of positive voltage at metal terminal. This metal terminal at which we are generally applying the voltage is also known as the gate terminal. Why it is called gate terminal? Because the gate is the terminal by which we are deciding how many charge carriers is responsible for the conduction of current, conduction of current inside this semiconductor. So that means this gate will decide the conductivity of semiconductor. If you are having more number of charge carriers here, then we can say that this can be acquired by changing the voltage of this gate terminal. So if you change the voltage, if you apply more amount of voltage, we are having more amount of electrons here. And if you are getting more amount of electrons, and we know the conductivity will be decided by the electrons concentration, because this is NQ mu n. And if you increase the conductivity, increase the concentration of N, the conductivity will get increased. So from where we are getting these electrons? These electrons we can get initially by the supplier, and later on these electrons we can get the electrons by this semiconductor also. So from where we are getting these electrons? The electrons initially we are getting from the supplier, which is a voltage source which will supply the electrons. And later, if you want more amount of concentration here, the concentration we can get here, more concentration we can get here from this semiconductor also. So where these electrons are present inside the semiconductor, if somebody asks you, then you can answer very correctly that the semiconductor consists of silicon atoms. Semiconductor consists of silicon atoms which will make a covalent bond. Which will make a covalent bond with whom? Which will make a covalent bond with a phosphorus atom. Because this is simply a tetrahedral structure in which we are having so many silicon atoms which is been arranged in a tetrahedral pattern. I have just arranged these atoms in a tetrahedral pattern because this is the two-dimensional. So just we have the analysis in this way, so that you can get. So it is a proper arrangement of the atoms, and we know that each atoms of silicon, we know, if you have understood the previous session of mine in GATE Academy Global, in which I taught you the basic semiconductor physics, we know that this consists of 1 electrons at its outermost shell, and overall a single atoms in its outermost shell consists of 4 electrons. Similarly, this is also consisting of 4 electrons. This is also consisting of 4 electrons. So in this way, we can say that each and every atoms of silicon at its outermost shell, this outermost shell electrons are loosely bonded. Each and every atoms consist of 4 electrons in its outermost shell. So I got the answer from this one. How I got the answer? We need electrons here, and this is a very good source of electrons, because these electrons are loosely bonded with the nucleus of this particular one. So I just draw the 4 electrons. But if you talk about a p-type semiconductor, sir, I want to understand what is a p-type semiconductor. I already taught this p-type semiconductor in my crash course of GATE Academy Global. You can analyze from there, but just I am changing the color of this one so that I can get some of the atoms can be replaced by the p-type material, either boron or aluminum. So I have just replaced some of the atoms. And we know that in a p-type semiconductor, we generally have the one vacancy. We don't have 4 electrons like this, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you are talking about a boron or a phosphorus which is acting as a p-type, which is acting as a acceptor atoms, which is denoted by Na, and Na is nothing but the acceptor atoms. If we write here, this is nothing but the acceptor atoms, then this is either from any of the third group elements, either it is from boron or aluminum or gallium or indium. So we just added, we just doped the intrinsic silicon with some boron atoms, and after adding the boron atoms, we are getting the structure will be somewhat like this. But these acceptor atoms will have only how many electrons? Only 3 electrons in its outermost shell. If the acceptor atoms is having only 3 electrons in the outermost shell, then we just wherever we have replaced the silicon atoms with boron atoms to make the same tetrahedral structure, then I just remove one electrons from there. So I just remove here 1 electron, I just removed from here 1 electrons, I just removed from here 1 electron, I just removed here from 1 electron. The remaining electrons will make a covalent bond with its neighbor atoms. So these two will make a covalent bond like this. Here also, every electrons which is present here will make a covalent bond like this. So I just made a proper description what is happening in microscopic way, so that you can get a proper idea that from where we are getting the electrons. So these are all the covalent bonds which is present here, and I must take some time to draw this one so that you can have a better microscopic idea that we won't get in any of the books. So like this. So here we have one more electron, so I just removed one, and after that one we again draw the covalent bond. So I just have the idea that you just get a better idea so that we can analyze properly. So if you watch this one, then you can observe one thing. Okay, what we have to observe? Sir, here we don't have any electrons in this covalent bond. So what is present here? I just say that there must be a vacancy, and this vacancy is nothing but the hole. So this is the speciality of this particular acceptor atoms, that whenever it is making bond with silicon, this is what? This is actually the boron atom, and if this boron atom is making any bond with silicon, then definitely there must be a vacant space at which this particular boron atom can accept an electrons. This particular space is known as hole. So every time whenever we are having any of the boron atoms like this, here we are having changed the color, then we must have a boron atom here. I just write boron, and if you are having a boron atom here, then definitely we are having one more vacancies, and that vacancy can be replaced by any of the electrons. So whenever the boron atoms is accepting an electrons, that particular boron atom will get a negative charge. But for getting this negatively charged, this will become an ion. When this will become an ion? Whenever this is accepting an electrons. So this can also be negative, but for having the negative charge inside the boron, we just have to have an electrons here, we just have to have an electrons here. So these two boron got one electrons, and this electrons has been supplied from this source or the supplier of the electrons. So I just draw some of the electrons here, and I just draw the direction of the propagation or direction of movement of these electrons. This electrons is moving in this direction. So whenever the electrons enters the semiconductor body, these electrons will take the places or the vacancies that is present, because electrons always has the tendency to occupy the lower energy state first. And if you have observed my previous lecture, then you have understood that these vacancies are always present in the lower energy state, in the valence band. So that's why the electrons will occupy this particular state first. So if the electrons has occupied this particular stage, we don't have any electrons link or the electrons here. That means whenever electrons are entering from here, and we are having countable number of electrons which is entering here, this will take the spaces that is present in the boron atoms, and we don't have any electrons concentration on the top of this semiconductor surface. That means in the initial stages, we don't have any electrons here. So this is the right way of answering. In the initial stage, we don't have any electrons here, but we have the ions. But on the other side, we don't have any ions here. Why, sir? We don't have any ions here. This may be your question, but I have the proper answer. What is your answer that we don't have any ions here? We are having only holes here. The reason that we don't have any ions here is that because the electrons will get always attracted toward the positive charge. So direction of movement of electrons is like this. So whenever electrons is moving in this direction, if any vacancies come in the direction of movement of the electrons, that vacancy has been replaced by the electrons, and that particular atom will get a negative charge. But if any of them will come away from the direction of movement of electrons, they will not get ionized. They will not get ionized because the presence of the electrons. So we are having holes also. We are having the ions also. But if the supplier will supply more amount of electrons, then definitely we are having some of the electrons will take this position, and it will be layered somewhere here. It will be layered somewhere here. It will be layered like this somewhere here. So we are having some countable number of electrons here. And these electrons will, if you are having countable number of electrons, these electrons will definitely not increase the conductivity of the semiconductor so high. But we need to increase the conductivity of semiconductor so high that the charge carriers or the surface of the semiconductor can act as a low resistive, very low resistive path. So to get a very low resistive path, we just have to increase the electrons concentration so high. So the conductivity will get so high and the resistivity will get decreased. For that one, we need to increase the voltage, because we know that by increasing the voltage, the supplier will supply more number of electrons. If the supplier will supply more number of electrons, we are getting a good layer or a very sufficient layer of electrons on the surface of the semiconductor. But the time at which we are supplying a good amount of electrons by increasing the voltage to some of the specified value, suppose we can say that the voltage at which we are getting a sufficient number of electrons here is, suppose this voltage is suppose 1 volt. Because this is a semiconductor, we don't have to talk, we don't need to talk about so high voltage 500 volt or 600 volt, because the semiconductor will work within 5 volt or 1 or 2 volt. So that's why I have written 1 volt. Suppose by chance I have supplied a 1 volt potential from here, and suddenly I have seen that now we are having the sufficient number of electrons. I will tell you what is this sufficient number of electrons here, but I see that we are having the sufficient number of electrons and the conductivity of the surface of the semiconductor has been increased. So initially we talk about the electric field also. This is nothing but the field effect transistor. So today I am not talking about this one. I have given you the microscopic aspect of this particular device. So I mean to say that if you are increase the voltage above some specified value, suppose the voltage is 1 volt, at this condition what will happen? At this condition what will happen? Because this 1 volt is supplying some energy. How we can connect the energy and the voltage? We know this particular energy is nothing but, how we can connect, this is nothing but Q into volt. Okay. So definitely the voltage will supply some energy, and if this energy is greater than the energy gap, I think you know what is this energy gap. Energy gap is the difference between the valence band and conduction band. What is present in the valence band? So if you talk about energy gap, then we know that energy gap is nothing but the difference between the valence band and conduction band. So if I draw a single line here and if I draw a single line here, then the difference between these two is nothing but the energy gap. So I just write here, this is the energy gap, and we just write here, this is the energy gap, and we know that this is the conduction band lowest energy state, this is the valence band uppermost energy states, and we are having valence band here, we are having conduction band here. I just have drawn an energy band diagram so that you can properly connect that how the energy band diagram can be used for the analysis of the semiconductor here. And we have so many energy states here, and in these energy states we are having the electrons. We are having what? We are having some of the electrons like this. We are having electrons like this. And these electrons are known as bonded electrons. This electrons is actually called what? This electrons is actually called bonded electrons. Okay. And we are having some of the states here also. and we don't have any electrons here right now, suppose, and we are supplying some energy from outer body like this. We are supplying this energy from any voltage source. So this electron may get sufficient amount of energy by using this voltage, and this will escape out from the valence band and it will move on to the conduction band. So now the electrons is here. This electron is known as the free electrons. What is this electrons is called? This electron is called free electron. This electron is from free electron. So that means what is this electron? This electron is called bonded electrons. To make the electrons free from bonded, we need to supply a voltage. And if the voltage will give the sufficient energy, which is greater than the energy gap, so if the energy that we are getting from the voltage is nothing but greater than the energy gap, then we can make the electrons free. If the electrons will get free, definitely we can use this electron to increase the conductivity. So I mean to say that here, the electrons which is increasing the conductivity here, this is nothing but the free electrons. This is nothing but the free electrons. And suppose this 1 voltage will give an energy which is greater than the energy that is needed to escape this bounded electrons. This bounded electrons. This is the electrons which is actually present in the energy band diagram in the valence band. So if these electrons will get the energy from this source, then definitely these electrons will escape out from this bonded one, and now these electrons will be present somewhere here. Now these electrons will be present somewhere here. Okay, because if it will get free, it will move and it will reside somewhere here like this. So every direction will give 1 electrons like this, 1 electrons like this, and we have the vacancies has been created here. Okay. So that means if the energy supplied by the voltage source is of sufficient value so that it will escape the electrons from the covalent bond, then we are having a sufficient number of free electrons on the surface of the semiconductor and it will increase the conductivity. So I have tried to increase your analysis towards the microscopic particles, but if you have noticed, I said you that initially we are having the ions in the semiconductor, and later on if we increase the voltage, then we are getting the electrons on the surface of the semiconductor. So for less voltage we are having the ions. So I will write here the first point which has to be noticed here, because I am going to use this one. For less voltage we are having the ions. For less voltage we got ions in semiconductor. Ions in semiconductor, if you haven't understood that one, so watch this series once more, then you are going to get, if you are having the proper analysis of semiconductor. And the second one is for more voltage. If I write here, if you apply more voltage and if the voltage is sufficiently high that it will give the energy to the electrons so that it will escape out from the covalent bond, then we get a layer of electrons. So we get a layer of electrons. This layer of electrons, we get a layer of electrons at the surface. We get a layer of electrons at the surface. This layer of electrons is acting as a inversion layer. This layer of electrons is acting as a inversion layer. So this layer of electrons is acting as a inversion layer. Why it is called inversion layer? The reason it is called inversion layer is because it is a p-type semiconductor. So p-type semiconductor having the majority charge carriers, which is nothing but the holes. So I just write here, if it is a p-type semiconductor, then we are having the majority charge carriers, which is majority is nothing but the holes, and we are having the minority, that is nothing but the electrons. Minority is nothing but the electrons. So we have created a layer of electrons here by applying a certain amount of positive voltage towards the gate terminal. So that's why it is called the inversion layer. What it is called? It is called inversion layer. because the type of the semiconductor has been inverted on the surface of the semiconductor. So this layer is known as inversion layer. So actually this layer is also called, say third point, I will say this layer is also called induced channel. Why it is called induced channel? Because this channel is not initially present. We have added this channel or induced this channel by application of proper voltage. It may be a voltage of 1 volt or 0.5 volt. The voltage which give the sufficient energy to the electrons so that the electrons will escape out from the covalent bond. So this channel is also known as induced channel. So what is the concentration of induced channel? If someone asks, when we can say that we are having sufficient number of electrons? So we can say we are having sufficient amount of electrons in the inversion layer when we know that inside the p-type semiconductor, we know that the majority charge carriers, just watch me carefully, I will tell you everything. So inside the p-type semiconductor, we know the majority charge carriers is nothing but Na, and we can say that at room temperature, we can create the amount of acceptor atoms which has been added to the semiconductor by using doping. Each and every doped atoms will give one of the holes. One holes. So this one will give one hole. So we can say that this will give a equal number of holes. So I want to say that the doping concentration of this semiconductor will tell us that what is the concentration of holes, because this doping can be added. This doping will add the majority charge carriers of any semiconductor, because the doping or the process of doping is used to increase the majority charge carriers. So I just write here, if you want to increase the majority charge carriers, we have to use the doping, and this doping has been used during the time of fabrication. But the minority charge carriers can be increased by increasing the temperature. And another way by which we can increase the minority charge carriers is nothing but we can use the voltage to increase or to escape the electrons from this covalent bond. So minority charge carriers also can be increased by applying a sufficient amount of voltage, and that voltage is nothing but the breakdown voltage. So sir, this 1 volt that we have applied here, is this a breakdown voltage? Yes, this is the breakdown voltage, and if we apply a sufficient amount of voltage, then the electrons will escape out. So in that condition, we doesn't need to increase the amount of minority charge carriers. So I mean to say that minority can be increased by applying actually by temperature, because we know one formula. What is that formula? We know that Ni square is equal to A naught T cube e raised to minus of Eg upon Kt. So from this formula, we know that the minority can be increased by increasing the temperature. But there is another way by which we can give a sufficient amount of energy to the atoms or the semiconductor itself, and we can create the minorities, and that is nothing but the breakdown. So I want to add here the fifth point. The minority can also be increased. Minority can also be increased by applying breakdown voltage. Increased by applying a voltage, and here it is not called actually breakdown voltage, it is actually in this particular technological term, it is called Vt, and Vt is nothing but the threshold voltage. So you just take care of this terminology. This is actually threshold voltage. So by applying this threshold voltage, we can increase the concentration within this semiconductor itself. This is very helpful to understand MOSFET also, but you just analyze properly that minority can also be increased by applying a voltage, and that voltage is known as threshold voltage. So sir, the voltage that we are applying here is called threshold voltage. So yes, this is called threshold voltage. So if you apply a sufficient amount of threshold voltage, we can increase the concentration of minorities. And just I draw a line here. So what is sufficient number of electrons meaning of sufficient number of electrons? So can you tell me meaning of sufficient number of electrons which is responsible to increase the conductivity of the surface of the semiconductor? So I just write here sufficient number of electrons. So we can say that sufficient number of electrons means the concentration of electrons increased so high that it will be equal to the doping concentration of holes or the acceptor atoms in the p-type semiconductor. So I can say that the free electrons concentration here, so I just write here the free electrons concentration here, if it is at some particular voltage, if it is actually equal to the holes concentration or the majority charge concentration of type of semiconductor, then I can write that we are having the sufficient number of electrons. So where it is present? It is present on the surface. It is present where? It is present on the surface of semiconductor. And where this is present? This is the doped majority charge carriers inside the semiconductor. So at the surface, we need the same amount of charge carriers. I will take an example. What is that example? Suppose by doping, we have increased the concentration of the holes inside the p-type semiconductor, that is approximately 10 to the power 16 per centimeter cube. That means a small cube of the semiconductor will consist of this one. Then we must apply a voltage, and by this voltage, if you are able to create the concentration of electrons in this p-type semiconductor, this is what the concentration of holes in p-type semiconductor, that is equal to 10 to the power 16 per centimeter cube, then we can say that we just acquire an inversion layer. So that is the meaning of sufficient number of electrons. So I have given you so many things right now here. This is a very different series in which we are analyzing each and every part. So the free electrons concentration that we have to make right here is nothing but the concentration of electrons which is sufficient to make the channel conductive. So if someone asked you what is that sufficient number of electrons which will make the channel conductive, then I must say that that sufficient number of electrons can be quantitatively measured by measuring the doping concentration of the semiconductor. So this is actually called the inversion layer. So a MOSFET, which is actually we are fabricating a MOSFET to construct a dependent current source, and for constructing a dependent current source, we need to understand the current must depends on the voltage. So the current must depend on what? The current must depend on voltage. So we must need a voltage. So current is must depending, or the current is the function of voltage. So we just have to create this one. So sir, until now we have analyzed that we are applying a voltage, and we are increasing the conductivity of the surface of the semiconductor. So now where is the current which is depending on the voltage? So I mean to say that we just have to analyze where is the current now. So for that one, we are going to draw another diagram, and from that diagram we are going to understand this figure. So this is the basic idea behind this semiconductor, because this is the crash course and we are not going to go deep inside this one. So those who are not getting the proper idea of each and every point, they can get it from here and they can analyze properly. So we are having a voltage that has been applied, and I have demonstrated the properly what is this voltage is actually doing. This voltage is creating a positive charge here like this. This voltage is creating a positive charge here, and this voltage is creating actually a negative electrons concentration at the bottom. So I just write here that we are creating a negative electrons concentration here. And how we are creating, we have demonstrated. But for over and all, we need to apply a voltage at this particular terminal, positive this side and negative this side. So we are increasing the conductivity of the surface of the semiconductor. So this is the voltage, this is like this. So you may think that why we are not using the hose concentration also to increase the conductivity. It's because the conductivity is also depending on P, Q, mu, P. So I have the answer that if you are using the hose concentration to increase the conductivity, and we know this hose concentration is nothing but the concentration of acceptor atoms, and this is nothing but the doping concentration. That means we need not to apply any voltage. We need not to apply any voltage to increase the hose concentration. We just use the process of doping. Doping is addition of external impurities. So we just use the process of doping to increase the conductivity of the semiconductor. If you are using this one, there is no use of voltage. There is no use of voltage. And we know that what is our intention? Our intention is to create a current which is depending on the voltage. And if you are creating current by using this one, this current is depending on what? This current is depending on doping concentration. This current is not depending on voltage. That's why we are not using the hose concentration. So always we have to create an inversion layer. We have to create an inversion layer. Inversion layer means the layer of this is actually called the channel. So this is actually called the channel, or the path from which we can use, we can finally have the current. Okay. So just we are connecting 2 points here. This is one metal contact like this. I will tell you what is this metal contact later, but we just have the analysis that we are just connecting 2 points. This is acting as a metal contact, and we just need to apply a voltage. Okay, apply a voltage. So what is that voltage? We are going to apply a voltage so that there must be a current flowing from this particular terminal. So what is this terminal name? So right now we are just naming this terminal as source terminal, and this terminal is drain terminal. So as we know that the gate is controlling, this is what? This is the control unit, and this is actually controlling the charge carriers on the surface of the semiconductor. If we apply more voltage, we are having more number of charge carriers. So it is controlling the conductivity of this particular channel, and by using the conductivity of this particular channel, if we apply a sufficient amount of voltage between these two, here we are having positive and negative. Then if you are applying a sufficient amount of voltage like this is negative, this is positive, I must say. How we are determining that we have to get a positive or negative? We can determine by using a proper way of naming this one. So what is the name of this particular terminals? That is, here it is source, here it is drain. So always the source will provide something. Here what is source is providing? The source is always it is acting as a source for getting anything. Okay. So it is acting as a source. So if it is acting as a source, it is supplying the charge carriers. So if it is supplying the charge carriers must move from the source side to drain side. So this is the direction. If we are having the channel which is covered with the electrons, then definitely the source will repel the electrons towards the drain side, and drain will recover drain out the electrons from this one. So if the drain is drain outing the electrons, then definitely we can say this must be a positive, this must be a negative. So the electrons is moving out from this one. And if the electron is moving out and it is moving toward the positive charge, and the electrons is moving in from this side, because it is again the supplier, and this is again a voltage that must be applied. So this voltage is supplier of the electrons. So electrons is flowing in this direction. It must be a conductive path, and the electrons this is the direction of movement of electrons, and electrons is coming out or drain out in this direction. So in that condition we can say that electron is moving in this direction. So this is the direction of movement of electrons, and the electrons is properly moving in this channel and in the wire. So we must say that there must be a current which is flowing in a opposite direction to the movement of electrons, and this is the current which is depending on this voltage. So what we need a current which must be depending on the voltage. So we got this one. So current which is actually a function of the gate voltage, and this current is known as drain current. So I just write here, this is the drain current. But actually we don't have any circuit which is having the metal oxide semiconductor which looks like this one. So we have a heavily concentrated source side, we have a heavily concentrated drain side, but we don't have this particular diagram. The reason why we don't have this particular diagram can be analyzed by using a proper diagram which can be taken from this one. I have a practical analysis for you, and I will give you the idea for this one. So we just understood that. Can you have the idea of this one? What is this one? This is the wafer, and inside this wafer we can see there are small boxes, and inside these boxes, small boxes, this is actually called, in your language, this is actually called chip. And these small boxes that we have here like this is actually called chip. And a large wafer is having so many chips like this. And these chips we have to fabricate first. That means we have to make this one MOSFET which is having 4-terminal device first, and later on it must be removed from this particular wafer. So a large side circle which is acting as a wafer, it is having millions of chips inside this one, and this small chips is acting as a, or it consists of many MOSFET or transistors. So we have to remove this MOSFET from this particular chip after fabrication. So if you are doing the fabrication of this particular chip which is acting as a MOSFET, then definitely we have to connect the terminals. What are those terminals? This terminal, that is the gate terminal, source terminal, drain terminal, and the last one is the body terminal during the fabrication process. So if you are doing the fabrication process and the chips is present inside this large wafer, then there is no provision to connect any terminals on the side walls, because if we can see on the side walls we are having another chips. So definitely if you take the terminals from the side walls, then we cannot construct another chip just beside the first chip. So this is the first chip, this is the second chip, and there is no provision to connect anything at the bottom side or the back side of this wafer. So we have to remove this particular connection from here, we have to remove this particular connection from here, and everything that we want to connect must be taken from the top, surface of this particular chip. So I have another diagram, I think, so that you can understand that we are removing. So we are removing this one, these chips. Okay, I think this is visible to you. If not, then please take a snapshot, and we can take this particular chips one by one after fabrication. So this velvet color portion is nothing but a demonstration that the chips has been fabricated, and this is nothing but a MOSFET. Suppose we are having so many transistors here, but if I take a single MOSFET, a 4-terminal MOSFET, then it has been fabricated and terminals has been taken out from this one. So over and all, I mean to say that there is no provision to connect any particular MOSFET to get the terminals from the side walls or the bottom walls. So that's why everything has to be connected at the top walls. So if everything has to be connected and on the top walls, then definitely we have to draw the MOSFET in this way. So this source and drain side should be taken from the top of this particular semiconductor body. If the source and drain has to be taken from the top of this semiconductor body, then we just take this particular, this is the substrate or the body, and we just take this is another, that is silicon dioxide we must take, and this is the silicon dioxide which has been connected on top, and on the very top side we are just taking a metal layer like this, and we can take a gate terminal from this one. But where is the body terminal? We cannot take the body terminal from the bottom. So only the gate terminal which is present on the top side can be taken while constructing. But what about this source and drain which is present on the side wall? And what about this body terminal which is present on the bottom part of this one? We cannot take these things. If you are unable to take these things, then everything has to be shifted on the top walls. So whenever we are shifting on the top walls, we have to make proper connection between this electrode and this channel. So how to make a proper connection? So for proper connection, we have to think about what is this connection representing. We have to connect in such a way that there is no potential drop between these two. If you are having potential drop, then definitely the contact is known as a rectifying contact. So we know that the diode is acting as a rectifier. So if it is not having a proper contact, then definitely it will act as a rectifying. What is rectifying? Rectifying means, suppose we are having this is voltage and this is current, and we just apply a voltage and we want current. Then the current will not propagate initially, and after some time we are having a current, and then the reverse direction we don't have the current. This is nothing but the rectifier. That means only one direction we are having a current, and in the other direction we don't have the current. So we just have to construct or connect this drain and the source terminal in such a way that there is no rectifying contact. We just need to have a ohmic contact here. What is a ohmic contact? Ohmic contact. We just need to have a ohmic contact here. So how can we get an ohmic contact, and what is an ohmic contact? If you want to analyze that part, then definitely we just need to draw. A ohmic contact means we are having a bidirectional conduction of current without any potential drop like this. So we just draw a line like this, and this is nothing but the voltage, and the application of voltage will give the current. So suppose this is the voltage and this is the current. So this is what? This is nothing but a ohmic contact. So how to get an ohmic contact? So simply ohmic contact we can get by taking the semiconductor side or heavily doped the semiconductor side. We know that in a PN junction diode, if the doping is less, we are having a large depletion region. If the doping is more on both sides, we are having a very small depletion region. So if you increase the doping of P side and N side, the depletion region will get small, and the potential drop, which is known as the potential at the depletion region, will also be less. So we can say that, so if you are having a small depletion region, the charge carriers may go in any of this particular direction without crossing the depletion region, and that process is known as tunneling. And I think you know proper what is tunneling. Tunneling means the movement of charge carriers across the depletion region if the depletion region width is very small. If you don't know, we need not to use this tunneling process right now here, but we need to understand that in the semiconductor side, if we increase the doping concentration more and more, then definitely we are having a ohmic contact. So we need to understand this one. So for that one, we need to increase the concentration of the semiconductor so high. So I have written an ohmic contact is a non-rectifying electrical junction. So a ohmic contact is nothing but a non-rectifying. Non-rectifying means which which does not rectify. That means it is not restricting the current to flow in any of the direction. So it can flow in a forward direction and reverse direction both, and it is acting as a Ohm's law, that is V is directly proportional to I. So this is nothing but the Ohm's law. So we have made a electrical junction, a junction between two conductors that has a linear current voltage IV curve as the Ohm's law. Low resistance ohmic contacts are used to allow charge to flow easily in both directions between the two conductors without blocking due to rectification. So that means by increasing, if I mean to write here, by increasing the concentration of semiconductor while making contact, we can make a ohmic contact. While making contact, we can make a ohmic contact. We can make a ohmic contact between the semiconductor. We can make a ohmic contact. We can make a ohmic contact between semiconductor and metal. So like this. So we need to have an ohmic contact. So just I will take care of this one. If you understood properly, then I can make a heavily doped region here, which is nothing but an N region here. So I just made a heavily doped region here. So here also I just made a heavily doped. What is this heavily doped region? This is N plus region. So I just write here, this is nothing but N plus region. So N plus representing a heavily doped region. Here also this is N plus region, and I will extend a contact from here by using the metal layer, because this is silicon dioxide which does not allow the charge carriers to move. So I will make a metal contact like this, and I will extend an electrode from here, and here also I will make a metal contact like this, and I will extend an electrode here, and I will extend an electrode here. So that's why we are having the structure of the metal oxide semiconductor would be like this. And simply, if you are not having the body terminal, then we can make a body terminal also. If we increase the size somehow more like this, and just wait a second, I will increase this one because I have made this one very small. Like this, this is the semiconductor, and so I want to make a contact, but for making an ohmic contact, we need to have a heavily doped region. So I will make a heavily doped region like this, and I will change the color. The reason why I have changed the color is that because this is a heavily doped P plus region. This is a heavily doped P plus region. So I just write here, this is a heavily doped P plus region, and I will make a contact here, metal contact like this, and I will extend a terminal like this. This is acting as a body. So over and all, we are having 4 terminals. The first terminal is nothing but the body terminal, then source terminal, then gate terminal, then drain terminal. This is a P-type semiconductor which is acting as a substrate. Okay. So every contact has been taken from the top of this particular semiconductor. So we can extend this particular region of silicon dioxide until here like this, and this metal can be also extended. No need to extend the metal, only the silicon dioxide. If it has been extended, then it will be over, because the metal part only we need whenever we are making the contacts. So like this, and here we are taking the silicon dioxide. So like this. So this is the proper way of connection. So we have making contacts. So ohmic contacts can be made by heavily doped. Write down the last line. The ohmic contacts can be made by heavily doped the semiconductor side, so that the junction will be thin and the charge carriers can move in any direction without crossing the voltage between the depletion regions. So here we have doped the semiconductor with a heavy concentration of charge carriers. So we know that the metal is also having more number of free electrons inside it is. So whenever we are contacting two metals, there must be a little potential drop between these two because they are having so high amount of electrons. So if we want to make a semiconductor and metal contact, then we need to increase the concentration of the semiconductor doping so that the contacts must be non-rectifying or ohmic contact. So over and all, this will be the final structure of the semiconductor. I think you got the proper analysis of all the things that I told you today. In next session, we will take some questions based on this one.